Who didn't hide? Maxim Sergeyevich Ignatiev was very fond of business trips. Firstly, this is a great way to travel at someone else's expense. Secondly, you can take a break from family life. And thirdly, Maxim Sergeyevich Ignatiev loved business trips very much. Firstly, this is a great way to travel at someone else's expense. Secondly, you can take a break from family life. And thirdly, as his father used to say, it's not worth shitting where to eat later. And he had strictly adhered to this principle since he could no longer keep his demon in check. When there was no opportunity to escape on business, he went far out of town, vented steam and came back. But he was always burdened by these trips. It was necessary to come up with something at work, to lie to his wife, and to think during periods when your head is already whistling from the isomethingy raging there, demanding new emotions, is not an easy task. And to go at random, in the blind hope of finding what you need, too, is such an adventure. Sometimes he came back with nothing, and had to literally kill himself in the gym, so that only incredible fatigue would drown out the itchy feeling of dissatisfaction and hissing anger. But now there was a dreamy smile on his face. He knew that if not today, then tomorrow, he would find everything he needed. I didn't hope, I didn't count, but I knew. Business trips never failed. Especially in summer and especially in small towns like this one. The people in them were more trusting, and his disarming, slightly lost expression on his face. I'm sorry, this is my first time in the city, and I probably got lost. Could you help me? Instantly endearing. Then it's a matter of technique, and only a very experienced psychiatrist would be able to discern in those piercing blue eyes a slight shadow cast by the very something living in the head, something that absorbed so much that at the end of each adventure Maxim completely ceased to control what was happening and came to himself at the very end. Undressed, stained with someone else's blood, with a copper metallic taste in his mouth, he carefully collected clothes filled with sperm, both his own and someone else's. I wiped the drying burgundy stains from my face and hands with what wipes as best I could. He changed into clean clothes and dissolved into the hum of an airplane taking off, or the measured tapping of train wheels. In his 40s, he looked very good. A slender, toned body, a youthful, high cheekbone face touched with a light tan, and dark hair without a hint of gray, which his peers lamented at work. Only the stupid mustache spoiled the whole picture a little. But what can you not do for the sake of a little disguise? Maxim adjusted a small backpack with things hanging on his shoulder, and went down the shady street towards the warm yellow rays of the setting sun. A little further away stood Khrushchev with small signs of life. Laundry was drying on a couple of balconies, and the sound of a TV was coming from several windows. On the other side of the road, private houses abandoned by their owners were walking in a row, fenced with leaning fences and overgrown young cherry bushes. A balding middle-aged man in an old-fashioned corduroy jacket and completely inappropriate black trousers was sitting on a bench near the house. But the most striking thing was the huge military boots laced right over the trousers. I wonder what size it is, thought Maxim, coming closer. The 50th? 52nd? Is there more? Suitcases are in the next department. Young man, he remembered an old joke and smiled to himself. Oh, good evening. Are you lost? A pleasant baritone with a slight hoarseness did not fit with the appearance, and the sudden question confused. He almost replied that they say yes. You won't help me pass. but caught himself, stopped in mid-sentence. Oh yes, no, just walking. Maxim stretched the corners of the lips of the side, depicting friendliness. Good evening. Oh, have you seen my boys there? Oh, excuse me, where is that? Oh well, in the house next door. You were looking out the window. I thought maybe you saw them. Scoundrels are always running away, playing among all sorts of rubbish. Oh, no, he shook his head. I didn't see it, sorry. The man pulled a pack of cigarettes out of his pocket, took one out, crumpled it at the base and inserted it into his mouth, exposing yellow, uneven teeth, though there is no sweetness with them. Maxim spread his hands, sighed picturesquely, as if sympathizing with a casual acquaintance. Oh, if you see them, he heard already in the back, tell them that the father is looking for, but is angry, to move home by Shurik. Dinner is coming soon. He nodded absently and walked on. At the very bottom, the street made a sharp turn to the left, and there Maxim saw an incredible sight. On the wasteland where the road ended, in fact, it turned out to be an access road, a great colossus of an 8-story building, consisting of identical gray cubes spread out. There was a feeling that the house, as a designer, was folded by a huge child, and he did it not very carefully, and some of the cubes bulged out, while others, on the contrary, were sunk deep. In the center there was a low central entrance, a couple of floors high. 2 residential wings were located on the left and right, extending back in a wide semicircle. This architectural madness was crowned by the letters that were crooked from time G_C_CAT_A. For several minutes Maxim stared in amazement at the monument of Soviet postmodernism. Most of the windows were knocked out, and in places greasy smears of black soot crawled out of the dark holes, giving the strange house even more grotesque. Once, an abandoned hotel was surrounded by a high fence made of metal shields. Now it looked like an old man's mouth, in which the remaining teeth rather emphasized the absence of all the others. Maxim came closer and heard a serious altercation. Oh, I killed you. Oh, and I love you. But you're dead. Oh, and I'm with the last of my strength. Oh, San, it's not fair. Tell him. He cautiously peeked out from behind the remains of the fence and saw 3 boys, about 10 years old, fiercely arguing about the outcome of an imaginary battle in the middle of a wasteland overgrown with tall bushes. Oh well, in general, if with the last of my strength, then you can. Oh yes, damn it. There are already 2 of you. You can't do it with the last of your strength. Oh, that's also true. I do not know any shorter. Oh, fuck you. Tired of it. The boy threw a stick on the ground, which was obviously his weapon. Oh, they drove us to hide and seek, but not above the 3rd floor and on the left. He suddenly took off and ran towards the glass doors, shouting over his back. Oh, who is the last? That cow. The other 2 looked at each other in surprise for a second, and then ran after him, indignant after him. Oh, stop, you bastard. Oh, that's not fair. You ran first. When they disappeared into the building, Maxim dived into the hole, ending up in a vacant lot. A familiar itchy buzz was growing in my head. He wiped his sweaty palms on his sweatpants, looked around and followed the children. Trio. To think that he could not even imagine such luck. It's no wonder that the strangely dressed man was asking about them. And I don't give a shit. On the way back, she will deal with him separately. The corner of the lip twitched and dropped slightly down. The main thing now is to catch all 3. Let them hide, and he will find them. Oh yeah? Yes, he will. The tip of his tongue flashed between his parched lips. Somewhere inside him, chaos was already roaring with might and main. Thoughts were feverishly fragmented into separate images of slides. Frozen pictures, they blended into a long disorderly string of events, pushing and unpleasantly scratching the skull. Wasteland. The train he was on. Wife. Strange guy. A secretary at work with her eternal cleavage to the navel. Whore. A backpack with replaceable items. Another train. Who was he? He once had a name. Such a stupid, idiotic name. Large glass doors, stained with dirt so that nothing could be seen behind them. Knife. He'll eat soon. Yes, finally. A spasm ran across his face, almost imperceptibly changing his appearance. Moving unexpectedly smoothly, like a cat, Maxim slipped into the arms of a dark, spacious hall. He stood for a while, letting his eyes get used to the semi-darkness. I threw the second strap of the backpack on my shoulder, in case I had to catch up with the little brats, and went towards the left wing. He climbed a small ladder and found himself in a long curved corridor with entrance doors on both sides. Some of them were knocked out and lay right across the half-rotted red carpet. Maxim listened to the dusty silence. If he starts methodically searching every room, then sooner or later he will be lucky. It was probably stupid to start with the very first room, but skipping it in the hope that there was no one there was also not the smartest thing to do. Therefore, carefully opening the first door, Maxim entered the hallway, looked into the dark toilet, then into the main room, bent down to check under the bed. Empty. In the room opposite, the procedure was repeated with the same result. It's okay, it's just a matter of time. Even if there is not so much of it, he'll make it. The door with the number 3 was lying on the floor. Toilet, room, bed. Taking hold of the handle of the 4th number, he almost physically felt someone's gaze on him, immediately turned around and stumbled upon 3 pairs of attentive children's eyes. The boys stood in the doorway leading back to the hall and silently looked at the stranger. In shorts, short-sleeved shirts and sandals on bare feet. One of them sniffed, wiping his face with his hand. Maxim lit up with a smile. Oh, there you are. And your dad sent me to get you. Step forward. Oh, he told me to tell you that already. He hesitated a little, remembering an unusual word, angry and waiting for you for dinner. One more step. Oh, come on. I'll walk you out. Oh, why do you need a knife? What knife? Maxim stopped, showing his hands. I don't have any knife. Don't talk nonsense. Come on, I've got my own things to do besides looking for you. He's lying, the second boy said, continuing to look at the man. Oh yeah, agreed the third. He began to get visibly angry. The little ones weren't afraid of him at all. No, it was even good on the one hand. They won't run away. But how those bastards looked at him. Like a bug in a jar. Oh, so that's it, kids. Come on. Oh, you're angry, the first boy interrupted him, but that's good. Oh, Dad doesn't allow you to play with the good ones. The third added again. Oh, do you want to play? Okay, and what do you usually play? Oh, hide and seek and catch up, the second one answered with a cheerful smile. Oh, great, so I've already found you and almost caught up. Maxim took a wide step forward, being only a couple of meters away from the children. Oh, you're stupid, the first one was, on the contrary, pathetically serious. All evil stupid, the third supported him. Oh, and why am I stupid? Maxim, no longer bothering with a smile, was going to overcome the remaining distance and grab the little impudent. Oh, because we will catch up. The face of the first boy suddenly swelled, rippled, and the lower jaw, like a heavy oil drop, crawled down. He raised his hands to his face. He gathered his fingers with a pinch and poked them with a flourish into wide-open eyes. He fumbled for a second, trying to get a better grip. Thin trickles of blood splashed out from under his fingers, flooding the child's face with bloody tears. There was a wet slurp and, breaking the maroon strings of nerve endings, he tore out both eyeballs. The boy stretched out his hands to the man, squeezing the torn eyes with his fingers. The wildly rotating pupils froze and stared at Maxim. "Oh, I love you, Nay." A prolonged scream from an ugly stretched mouth threw Maxim back, putting his back against the door jamb of an empty room. He sat down heavily, gasping for air, but after a second he jumped up and froze, slightly crouching, studying the sudden opponents. The second boy, the one who was smiling fervently, without changing his expression, jumped onto the wall from the man's side and slowly crawled towards him. A month came out of the fog, took a knife out of his pocket. Without waiting for the development of events, Maxim rushed further down the corridor, taking off his backpack on the go. The isomethyl inside him was raging with delight. You bet. Finally, there was someone whom he would not just kill, but win. For all these years, he was sick to death of uncomplaining sheep who obediently followed him to slaughter. I didn't want to kill less from this, but lately something was missing, and now he understood what. The excitement of the fight, which of course will end with his inevitable victory. Although, I must admit, the kids were not easy, but still, children, where can they compete with such an experienced predator like him? Maxim felt the wooden handle in the pile of clothes, smiled grimly, taking out his favorite knife. A shadow flashed over his head and a third boy, right on the move, fell from the ceiling at his feet. The man flew headlong forward, scattering things on the road, but the knife remained in his hand. Swaying, he got to his feet again. "Oh, you will cut, you will beat, you will still drive." In a long jump, a second child's figure stretched out from the wall. She perched on his shoulders and plunged unexpectedly long claws into Maxim's collarbone. He growled in pain, grabbed the brat with one hand and stabbed back at random with a knife. He spun on the spot, without releasing the boy, slammed his back into the wall, continuing to stab furiously. A sudden flash of pain burned my leg. Glancing down, I saw that the other bastard had almost completely captured the ankle in his jaw. Maxim jerked his leg, trying to throw off the child, and felt another bite in the neck. Mind-boggling, the little bastards grabbed on from all sides and ate him like some piece of meat. Roaring with rage, he grabbed the boy, gnawing at his throat with both hands. He threw it with all his might against the opposite wall. He picked up the fallen knife and stabbed the bottom one several times in the head. The man jumped aside, hissing in pain. Maxim took a step forward, intending to kick the creature hissing at him from the bottom of his heart. But his wounded leg gave way treacherously, and he fell awkwardly on his side. Immediately rolled to the side, dodging another attack. The jaw, stuffed with small crooked teeth, clanged a few millimeters from the face. Bracing his hands on the floor, he pulled himself up against the wall and sat down. At least no one will attack from behind now. There was already a small dark puddle under the foot. The torn neck throbbed, splashing out new portions of blood with each heartbeat. The silhouette circling in front of him doubled, causing nausea. Maxim shook his head, pulled out a knife in front of him, and wheezed, "And come on, bitches, one at a time. I'm waiting." Something in my head was ringing with rage and hatred for the cursed children. Such an outcome of events was not supposed at all. But, after all, it was not for nothing that he considered himself a predator. A second before the new throw, Maxim leaned to the side and caught one of the boys by the throat. He drove his forehead into the wall, swung and drove the knife up to the hilt in the temple. The creature screamed, broke free, jumping back. Well, now he was left without a weapon. A wet lump hit his face, rolled down, froze on his chest. The torn-out child's eye stared up at him. The next moment, a sharp pain in his groin made him scream with all his might. A mouth stretched almost to the middle of the chest appeared in front of the nose. Oh-ari-eel-eel. The blind freak slammed his other eye into his mouth, grabbed his head, and started banging the back of his head against the wall. Oh-ari-eel. Maxim tried to push the attacker away, slid his hand inside his jaw, and was left without his left hand. You're at it again, you little devils. A familiar voice rumbled all along the corridor. How many times have I said not to play with people? The boy jumped off his victim, and the stunned Maxim slid to the floor, leaving a wide bloody streak behind him. Oh, but he's evil, Dad. Look, I stuck a knife in Sasha's head, and you can do it with the evil ones. You said it yourself. Oh yes, I see. Come here, let me take it out. A childish ouch was hard to hear you go. Take it to your mom. It will come in handy. Now get out of here. Through the veil of pain, Maxim saw a figure in an old-fashioned corduroy jacket approaching him. He tried to get up, but his head was spinning too much from the loss of blood, and he fell over on his back again. The man sat down next to me, clicked his tongue. Oh, you got that? Nah. Well, nothing. Wait, sick. I'll help you now. Wait a minute. The stranger straightened up, and the next thing Maxim saw was a simple drawing of a corrugated black soul, with the numbers 52 in the middle. And a second later, the silence of the corridor was broken by a dull crunch of facial bones.